everybody, welcome to the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Scott Tilford, joined by Jules Gill.
Hello, everyone.
And Ash Millman.
Hello.
It's a whole new year, people.
Woo.
New Year's resolution, New Year energy is in all directions, and we've gathered you together because basically we thought that we would have a general bant on the whole idea of New Year's resolutions and apply that to the gaming industry.
Yes.
Because if there's anything that needs upending, it might be the New Year, might be the thing with the games.
Well, 2019 was a very, very interesting year for the video game industry. It wasn't as bad as potentially maybe 2018, but still there was a lot of sort of like weird slides and maneuvers that it made as it tried to retroactively change everything from the previous year.
Yes. Yeah.
And now with 2020 in January, with everyone else making New Year's resolutions, we should probably ask that of the people who we give a ton of money to all the time.
Please change.
First up, did you guys make any New Year's resolutions? Usually I don't bother, but I felt it this year, and I've got a ring fit.
What are you?
So I've been ring fitting like every day.
Ring fit is your New Year's resolution.
Yes, you work out
365 days of ring
It's
fit.
really good. Like you do, it's like a Pilates ring, and you squeeze it, and then it counts your calories and it measures your heartbeat.
You know what?
It's really good.
I had a little sample of it, and it was very fun.
Yeah,
and the ring fit adventure.
knackers you as well. I'm very unfit.
Headline of the Tyne and Weird Daily: Man dies if ring fit overuse.
Man over Pilates himself.
Ring fit found in the Tyne. It's been thrown out the window.
You could frisbee that thing pretty well.
My New Year's resolution is really sad.
Okay.
Oh, no.
My New Year's resolution is by the end of the year to be living with my girlfriend in Wales.
Why is that sad?
Because of the fact that it would mean saying goodbye to you people.
Yeah.
Oh.
But there's a lovely side to that.
Just like many tonal changes there.
If this was the first we were hearing of this, maybe it would be more sad. But I'm going to choose to focus
First
on the
that
positives.
they're hearing of it.
It's true. I'll focus on the positives that you'd be living with your lovely little girlfriend and
Lovely
that.
little girlfriend.
Yeah.
You can nip that in the bud in 2020.
Why?
Yeah. Talking about toxic gaming.
How's that toxic?
No, we're joking. That is lovable when it comes from you.
What's it? How little what?
It's just, okay, for the people who don't understand, there's a lovely boy in here called James Dowles who we take the mick out of every single day.
I don't.
Little.
I don't at all. You want to talk about toxic behaviour? You're outing yourselves as the most toxic people
I'm not
around.
involved in this.
Surrounded by two
I'm not
three-eyed
involved in this.
fish
I saw you.
right now.
I tell you what, a 2020 start to a podcast. You couldn't ask for better than this. There's a lot of energy in this room. Let's scoop it up and put it in the furnace, boys.
Ooh.
Let's go.
I didn't have any New Year's resolutions, but the one that I was thinking
You
I
stop
would
being
do.
toxic for one, carry on.
Whoa!
Just saying.
Whoa! My one thing that I wanted to do, it wasn't really, is get my speech together, and I wanted to start. I wanted to start martial arts. Is what I wanted to do this
martial
year.
arts?
Oh, man.
I was ready to get some like fists of fury going.
You've got some expat karate moves
yeah, I
going
actually
on
want to
there.
learn it. I want to do like kickboxing. Like I don't know. I just want to kick people.
Do
There's,
Muay Thai.
There's classes up at the gym that we go to
There we
that
go
actually
then.
they do boxercise. So that might be a good
Well,
start.
there we go. So
Good.
when you see me in a week, I'll be really
Kicking the
missing.
living hell
That's
out
all
of
it
everything.
takes.
But that worries me because
That's all it
Ash,
takes.
like this is the thing, and I say this from the heart.
You can tell you guys have just come back.
You're a lovely, lovely woman. You're very kind, very
Lovely
generous.
little lady.
But you're not delicate.
Oh,
and you're
I'm a delicate flower, I'll have you know.
If there was a word to describe you, it would be clumpy.
Wow.
So you putting power behind those ham fists that you've got probably would actually be quite deadly.
Like hitting people with a giant
I'll
fish.
take it. You know.
Anyway, we were going to talk about
fish.
a game like a giant fish. If you were getting slapped with a fish, that's a
Is that
full-on
my fist?
Yeah.
Fish fists.
fish
Fish
fist
of
Millman.
fury.
Yeah, we did have a plan for this, but I mean, if we just talk about fish fists for the next 25 minutes. Anyway, gaming resolutions. We thought we'd see what the industry should try and do to overhaul itself. Because there's like, don't do a Max Payne face at me, Jules. Gill.
Hey, speaking of gaming, do you remember
Yes.
Fisticuffs on Club Penguin?
No.
No.
Where you
What the
just-
hell's Club
you
Penguin?
Oh man.
You did not play Club Penguin. You're the same age as me.
No, I didn't play it, but I know.
I know what
about
it is. I'm
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
thing. But you and Ewan played it.
Fisticuff, yeah, because we are
'Cause you're like
young
3
and,
years old.
and virile, but we play as a
Virile?
bit with fish, and you just slap each other with the fish so wins. But that fisticuffs, I thought it'd be a funny joke because
Yeah, it is funny. It
Thank
is
you.
funny.
It's definitely funny when you've
Just not when I
got
say
to
it.
clarify that it's funny. That's how you know that it's definitely funny. I'm sure the comments will let us know whether they want more banterful podcasts in the future. Chances are they will, but we'll see. Finally. Anyway, for the third time, let's talk about what the gaming industry can do to resolve itself in 2020.
Yeah.
Now, we threw different things into a master list that I'm going to sort of read from. One of yours, Jules, one of your suggestions was not altering content after a game has come out, after the review period.
I have a huge problem with this because it actually changed my opinion on Crash Team Racing. Like, you and I were so excited for that game, and you as well, actually, because you played it like a lot in the past.
I like
as well.
Crash. I remember seeing all the pictures you guys sent of very sad Crash.
Oh, yeah,
Which
yeah.
You're very
That was
excited
Sad
for.
Crash at the launch event. Yeah.
And we went to the launch event, like Activision like kindly sent us down there and we played the game. It was fantastic. It was everything we wanted it to be because it was so honest to its own roots. And then when they said, oh, we're going to be supporting the game with DLC further down the line, which you can unlock by racing, earning the coins and doing all that, we were a bit like skeptical. But once we saw it in practice, we were like, that actually works because you're on, and the tour mode like actually was a good idea in principle. But then after the review period stopped, they started putting in much more. They changed the way that the shop works. They changed the reward system that you get. They changed the progression for all of that stuff. And you sit there just going, my review of this game is not reflective of the game that is out there. And it makes a huge disparagence between the gaming public, the journalists that report on it, and the developers themselves. And that is a symbiotic relationship that needs to be like as fair as possible.
Yeah.
Like, I get annoyed when people like Bethesda, and I will name drop them specifically, say that we won't get games until launch day because it shows that they're trying to hide something from the public. That's what it implies. But I hate it when there's this sort of like broken relationship between us. Like, okay, I'm going to say that this game is good. 3 months down the line, say you pick up the game based on the review that I've done. Then it's not the game that I've talked about, and you go, well, that's crap, and you're wrong, and I don't trust your reviews anymore.
I think like it's like obviously like one of the best things that came out of having like broadband connections left, right, and center is the ability to patch stuff and make it better. But I think that microtransaction stuff, like there's some really egregious examples. Like Metal Gear 5's mother base stuff got altered so that if you wanted to continue managing the base that you had in the single player, you had to start paying for it. Black Ops 4 had a storefront put in after the fact. Modern Warfare had one too. I agree with you on that. I think that it feels really disingenuous. Like people have paid full price for a thing, and then you get kind of nickel and dimed after the fact.
It's like Fallout 76, that whole mess that was Fallout 76, like where it could have come out a much better state, and then it just all the drips and drops of it were different to what it actually came out as. And when it came out, it's taken ages to get it built up. Elder Scrolls Online as well, when that was first, took ages to get. I think this is a different problem I'm talking about, where things need to come out in a working state, which I know we'll talk about later.
Yes, I've got that as a separate one.
I think having things come out like as you promised they're going to be, you just want the game as is, don't you, about anything else?
I feel like it's so weird to see publishers not treat the relationship they have with us as like video game journalists with respect, because it's a case of like, they don't seem to realize that they need us. Like, I know that a game will sell pretty well because a fan base will be aware of it if they're following the game. But people like us, IGN, GameSpot, and all the other ones, they provide free coverage of those games. They push it out to millions and millions of people who will potentially buy it. So why make the audience question their relationship with those media outlets by changing the game that they provide? It means that we have now theoretically have to do your written review, your video review, and you need to do a 6 months down the line re-review of it, or even a year down the line. And that's just, you're altering what it is, what GameStead
more
is.
content,
it is more content.
More content.
Like joking aside, like we will be able to like get stuff out of it, but it's just it doesn't feel right.
No, I think that we'll talk about like rushing games to market as like a separate thing, but I think that idea of like fundamentally upending like a progression system or making it so that you have to pay for something that you were getting for free, that's something that you can totally zero in on and be like, that needs to stop. Like either you need to like be upfront about offering, saying what you're offering on launch day, and people need to know what they're buying into, and know that like you've had fun with the game for a good few weeks. Oh, by the way, now you need to pay 50 pence or £1 or whatever to now speed this timer up or unlock this thing that was there before. That would be the thing that I think genuinely sucks.
It doesn't happen in any other product. Why should we allow it to be? Why should
Other
we
than
tolerate?
Cats got patched. Cats the movie.
Yes, Cats the movie did get patched.
I thought you meant cats as
Cats
in the
themselves.
actual animal. I was there like, I don't know what you're doing to
They're
your
always
animals.
getting updates. Yeah. They're just never good enough.
Well, I'm unaware of this. What's happened?
Cats basically came out and there was some CGI problems where Judi Dench still had human hands while she was a cat. So they had to patch it so she had cat hands afterwards, and that's how you could tell the difference.
But it's the first movie to get patched, which is a horrifying precedent because I guarantee they'll start doing that.
Surely there must be others. There must be loads more.
The Shining had like an ending cut out of it and all sorts. Like this,
Like digitally updated though.
No, No. It basically Kubrick sent it all out to all of the cinemas, and then
to cut out and burn it. Didn't
yeah,
he?
he was like, cut it out and send it back to me, so I can get rid of it. So like, it went out, and then I don't know if it managed to screen, but like it got patched before it actually was released properly.
Yeah, there's been alterations to movies before. What I mean is, I think it sets a horrifying precedent for the idea of digitally patching movies, because then you can be like, well, we changed the ending, or we changed this scene, go watch it again, or whatever. But anyway, in terms of to zero in on a specific thing, I think the idea of publishers or developers altering progression loops by introducing monetary elements post-launch, that sucks. That's the thing that needs to just go away and shouldn't have even become a thing in the first place.
If they want to do stuff like that, it should be huge announcements and done as an optional DLC or something like that. If you're going to make huge changes to your games, like, this is why games as service is great in practice, but it has a huge problem in the fact that it's a malleable state that constantly keeps changing. When before, it used to be like Red Dead Redemption 1 is probably a good example, because it's like base game, and then standalone DLCs come out for it, and they support and expand, but you choose what level you want to play on, you choose what style. Like, games now are just sort of like blobbed together, and it's like, now we're going to tweak this bit here, and that's going to affect this bit here. But I liked how it was before. Why are you changing it? Like, and I've no say of it. You are saying that my opinion doesn't matter after I've given you money.
There's a whole thing with art and artists, though, isn't it, about how they want like something to come out and be received because it's their product, and they should make it how they want, and like we shouldn't be like, oh, we need it like this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that's just two sides of the same coin.
That's totally valid. For me, that would be totally valid if it was something other than a monetary loop.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. The monetary side of it is different. It's just if it's, I guess, if they're changing graphics or adding things in or taking things out that are just no control over.
Yeah.
I think they should have a sort of level of free reign over being able to adapt their game, but not to a point where they're just trying to like milk the cash cow for it.
Well, we might as well segue into like the idea of rushing games to market, because like you mentioned WWE 2K20, like there's so many games, and this generation made it worse than ever, where games do, as soon as it's in like a beta state, it's out there full price, like let's cash in on this as soon as possible, and that'll like 100% comes from the publishers. It's very rare that that'll come from a creative side, someone who's actually coding the thing. If anything, they'll be asking for more time. But then things just get put out because we might as well cash in as soon as possible.
Like we've said this many times, I don't think that there's a single developer out there who wants to put out a game in a broken state, because it is their credibility and their job potentially that could be on the line. It is always going to be the publishers or the license holders that force things out before that they're ready. But 2K especially has been in a really just bad position. We've spoken many times over the state of WWE 2K20 and how utterly broken it is now with the latest patches that have come out that broke it even further.
They've apparently like given up on it at this point. Like, staff are leaving in double digits.
And do you know what? It reminds me of, do you remember when Batman Arkham Knight came out and there was a huge issue with PC issue? I can't remember what the issue exactly was, but it was genuinely...
fall through the floor, Jules.
Oh, there we go then. a pretty big issue. It was utterly broken, and instead of patching it, Warner Brothers did the cost analysis and said, we're not going to make the money back from doing this patch, so leave it broken. Utterly shambolic.
Well, that happened with Battlefield 4, where it was just like they couldn't fix it, and then the turnaround came that DICE had to work on the next project, so they just left it. That was the case with the Master Chief Collection as well. It eventually did get fixed, but it literally took, I'm going to say, 5 years. Maybe 5 years. Maybe 4, I guess it was last year. But still, that game released broken. It was broken in Halo, and it was like, what the hell are you guys doing? 343 had to move on to Halo 5, and then it was only after that when they eventually freed up enough time and money, I guess, to go back and just make Halo work again.
Hasn't Halo...
ridiculous.
Because Halo went onto PC or something like fairly recently, didn't it?
It's totally fine now.
Yeah, it's totally
but it
fine
literally
now.
took years.
Years.
Yes.
Like we shouldn't allow that. Like
No.
it's. I know it's easy for us to sit here and be like, well, just don't buy those games. But I know I too fall into the hype cycle of being like, well, okay, Battlefield 4 was rubbish, but Battlefield 5 might be great, sort of thing. But it's just we have to remember that these people, if they can't be bothered to fix something, that shouldn't inspire trust or product stability.
I don't know. I feel like it's hard, isn't it? 'Cause it's like you say, it's not these developers who are the problem. It's rushing things out for money, and there's such a demand on the game industry now. It's gotten so popular, it's grown so big. There's so many more people coming to it and expecting different things and expecting them quickly, and they have to try and match the supply and demand cycle. And things go wrong along the way. Like as we know, stuff goes wrong along the way. Right? You have to do your best to fix it. I think that's all we can ask for, is that it does get fixed. Ideally not broken in the first place, and given the time to do it without crunch culture and all that. Crunch culture.
The thing with with that though, like they created that environment in the first place. Like they were the ones, it's like they're the ones inflating the budgets. Like well, the graphics are the new best thing. It's 4K resolutions. We need to put more time into this. Like they create an environment where it is the next big thing, and they're the ones who choose when they show off the projects. Unless they get leaked.
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still. I think that they are their own worst enemy sometimes.
My best advice that I could probably give anyone listening to this would be if it's a yearly format game, if it's a serialization of a franchise, don't pre-order it.
Right.
Like literally that, like it will save you so much money. Wait until it comes out, see what state it's in, and then decide to purchase it. Don't just buy it because you buy it every year. That's not a good excuse. You shouldn't you shouldn't support something if you don't know it's going to be there. Like I only pre-order games now that are either like indie games that I've been following for a while, or single games that are new IPs that I have no experience of, and I think, okay, this is something I want to take a risk on. But I don't want to give money to EA or 2K.
I will continually give money to Bethesda every time that I announce something new. I'm like, have it, why not?
Yeah.
I'll pre-order it. Go
Got
on,
your
then.
little trash bag.
Yeah, come on, open up. Like,
because I'm just saying, like, it never ever gets released in these annualized games. Do not ever release in a good state. Like apart from maybe FIFA, I think that's probably the one consistent one.
Assassin's Creed had a good run for a while, and then imploded on itself with Unity. But it's like, I mean, most video games, unless they're really severely reusing assets, aren't made for an annual cycle. And something like WWE is like, obviously, I had the big problem with the change in developers. But even before then, even when it was still Ukes, they've been going downhill for years. There hasn't been a genuinely great WWE game in this generation, really.
And that sucks.
Yeah.
It really sucks because
they should be pristine at this point as well.
Like I love wrestling games. Like I think that they are.
Yeah, I used to.
Like Here Comes the Pain, Know Your Role, like Attitude. Back then, that was like the glory day, the heyday of like arcadey sort of bashups. And even when they moved into the simulator stuff, they still had absolute gems like WWE 2K12. I still maintain as a great game, and also SmackDown versus Raw 2006 or whatever it was. Like great games, but it's just the further they've gone into this weird pseudo-realistic stuff.
Everything's so slow.
and then they've got that counter with the over-stylization of like the Bray Wyatt Carnival of Horrors and stuff like that.
Do you know what that is?
It's like the Fiend. Basically, like they've got the super silly stuff.
you've gone in the hole.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to get back out again. It's just don't pre-order it. Just don't pre-order 2K21.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, basically in that regard, I mean, that was one of the things that came out from an ex-Ukes staffer talking about like the reaction to this game is already impacting next year because they don't have the staff and things like that. I mean, Ukes have left the project now, but Visual Concepts, the NBA devs have stepped in. But it seems like 2K aren't going to yield from a yearly release cycle, so you'll just get more broken stuff next year.
But they can't because the WWE have contractually got them like
exactly as
by
well.
the gonads to just keep doing it. But like, do you remember what the name of that guy was? Who was the ex-developer?
Oh God, not specifically. We did the video on him.
We did a video on him. I'd suggest just trawling back through our news things and trying to find it because this.
I suggest watching every video.
That would really help us out actually.
The reason why is because he actually went back to the games that he worked on and plays through all of the career modes and tells you how the creative decisions were made. It's actually genuinely really interesting. He put out the first one quite recently, and it's actually really good to watch.
Actually, very quick resolution that I didn't have written down, but a good point is that I think the industry should show off more. Like we do so many making of docs in film, and you get to the insight into how those ideas came to fruition. Very rarely you'll get that in gaming. Like Double Fine did a really some of these things are so genuinely recommendable. Double Fine Adventure, which is like a 20-part YouTube series with Tim Schafer breaking down exactly how they made Broken Age. Sony do a few little roundtable interviews with like Neil Druckmann and some of their first party people, but they sort of like abandoned it. And No Clip as well, Daniel Dwyer's stuff. Like he literally does like fan-funded documentaries on certain games and stuff. That should be something that comes alongside as many games as possible, like making of stuff.
It'll get there, won't it? Especially since I feel like we haven't had good video game movies for a long time. We never really have. I think as soon as they... Well, I mean...
No, she's definitely right there, mate.
Have you not seen Doom Insurrection?
Look, I love Doom. I've spoken on much. I love the Doom movies. But I think we haven't had an amazing one.
No.
And I think once we crack that, then the film and TV market becomes... Like TV with The Witcher, that's a really, really good stepping stone for the industry to go, okay, we can branch into this and draw more people back this way and show off all the wonderful things that it does on the inside-outside documentary side. I think once it cracks the film TV industry with a really good, interesting, engaging thing like The Witcher, which you should all go and watch.
Should you go see it?
This is another podcast. This is another podcast in the making.
It's pretty
I haven't watched a single one. Don't ruin it for me. Don't ruin it for me.
Cavill's really good in it.
Okay.
Henry Cavill's the only good thing in it.
Bad.
It's really bad.
Is it?
Yeah. You've seen it.
I like the game so much. I was just excited to see it.
I know, that's what was my thing. And I was like, actually, this is really bad.
Wait, no. We'll talk about this after.
We will.
Loads of people I know said it's really good.
Well, loads of people I know said it's really good, but they're all wrong.
Oh, so it's a Scott take.
No.
I'm
just look at any response to it online. It's very 3-star. It's so meh. We're also like dying to have something good after Game of Thrones, that we're convincing ourselves this is good, and it's not.
Anyway,
2020.
The Witcher it's a really good stepping stone for the industry to jump off and go, okay, we can make series out of this. There's all this lore and source material that can be expanded upon, extrapolated upon, and spun off from and done in a really good, engaging way. perhaps like The Witcher, I don't know anymore, then I think that'll be the time where we get more coming back from it. Because documentary obviously is, I feel like it's in cycles of what people are interested in, sort of things. So as soon as you get gaming into the forefront, you'll get tons of them.
The thing is as well is that if you do that, you actually start to make something which I think it could potentially be a side New Year's resolution for the industry, is that making heroes of the people who make our games, because we are so quick to bash the publishers, and because they are faceless, it's very easy to tackle them. And when they do stand out and make mistakes like Todd Howard, it's very easy to have like a public figure to mock. But we need gaming heroes. We need people to step up and do things right, the right way. Like Hideo Kojima, like as much as Death Stranding has polarized people, he's clearly the right sort of person because he's auteur, he's out there, he's got so many friends in Hollywood.
His friends.
He's clearly a nice guy, and he's
Yeah.
like a very hardworking individual. It's like we need more people like that who actually stand for something in the gaming industry and are able to move it forward, because it's their visions that will pull the industry in new directions. Like if we have somebody come out and say, hey, this isn't just going to be a military shooter covered in brown, it's going to be a military shooter with a message, aka like Spec Ops The Line or something, and move it that way, then hopefully the industry will react to that in a positive way.
Yeah, like the idea of having industry spokespeople is like something that kind of waxes and wanes. Like for a while there was like Ken Levine, and you had like obviously Neil Druckmann for Naughty Dog, Cliffy B. Like there was a good few. Most of them have went away though.
Like there are, don't get me wrong, there's some absolute assholes.
Peter Molyneux did no favors.
Yeah, like John Romero when he just went off the rails.
Yeah.
But they became public figureheads, and it's like those rock star sort of status. We need
Rockstar of the gaming.
but we kind of.
That was what buried Romero.
But I genuinely think that we need more of that. We need the sort of maybe some more outspoken, outlandish figures to draw eyes onto it and push it in like creative and interesting directions.
Yeah, considering how much sway, like the thing is, Death Stranding, for as much as it's divisive, like the fact that game got made is the best thing about it. Even though I do think there's positives to the game itself, the fact that someone like Kojima was able to go to Sony and be like, I'm going to make a game about delivering packages and wandering around for ages. Like I love that that's a thing.
Yeah.
And like if there was more, like if that individual is bankable, it allows for a bigger diversity in genres and ideas. Which that was another point that I had is just that the industry this generation fell back on so many bankable formulas to the point where you look at a trailer or a bit of gameplay footage and you know exactly how something's going to control, you know exactly how it's going to play. Something like Assassin's Creed: The Division, like every cover shooter is nigh on identical. Loot systems, the exact same loot system is prevalent across the board. That stuff really started to like grind on me after a while, where I was like, I just feel like put off by it, and so like I gravitate more towards indie stuff and one-offs.
More experimental, like different out there games definitely would be my New Year's resolution for the gaming industry. Just please keep on doing the weird stuff. Get Hideo Kojima to do everything. Like even if it doesn't work, like Death Stranding didn't.
Don't get him to do everything.
No, not him, but you know what I mean. Like Death Stranding didn't work for me. I wasn't a fan of the game, but that it exists at all, I'm very thankful for, and that it can continue to push people in different directions and go, okay, this is so weird and so strange to have as a AAA title. What else can we do with that sort of branding blockbuster sort of gaming stuff that we can do? I'm just saying lots of do stuff things. Please make.
No, I know what you mean.
No, but they're things that we've talked about, like in the office and stuff in general. And I remember thinking that going through Death Stranding, I was like, I'm so glad this got made. Because it does stand out, and it's like you like roll up the PS4's exclusive library, and it's like it is incredibly unique and original, and I love that. I fell the hell off Death Stranding in the closing hours. It's an absolute tire fire, but it's great until then.
That it is there to do that. And,
that's
like,
the thing.
I'd rather watch a game absolutely fall on its ass and make an idiot of itself doing something exciting and new, and that brings around a whole new revelation of the gaming industry than the same thing again and again. Another WWE, another FIFA, another this, that, the other. Give more Death Stranding, please.
It's even weirder that like you have a bankable formula, you have a very specific structure that you're going for on an annual basis, and then you mess it up anyway because the publishers crunch the release dates on them. It's like at some point those formulas should be immaculate, and then that should free up the ability to do the other one-offs. But I feel like a lot of publishers go towards the most easily bankable stuff, which is only for the most part to focus on the AAA stuff. But you were mentioning, Jules, that you were saying like someone needs to tidy up the mobile market. Just that it's got ridiculous.
Maybe this is just like a personal thing. I don't know if you guys play many mobile games.
Just
rarely.
Like tappy ones, like real easy, nothing great. I play Stardew Valley on my phone sometimes.
It's Stardew on a phone?
Yeah.
Is it? I've got my PS4 and my Xbox, and I think my Switch as well. I know it's on phones.
I played on my phone. Yeah.
Anyway.
But this is the thing. Like it's a huge market. Like the amount of money that it
Temple
makes is like, is it 10?
Bring that again.
10 cents? Is that who?
10 Cent's a massive Chinese conglomerate.
They are like absolutely killing it, and they do make like pretty good quality games.
PUBG and Call of Duty was both them.
Fantastic. But the problem is that there is an absolute wild west going on there with terms of like what people can get away with and what they're doing. Like the amount of like legally dubious copyright infringing games that are out there is alarming.
I love when Flappy Bird came out and it was just sort of like, I don't know, Wappy Bird or Flippy Bard or whatever. It was like, okay, good.
And it's just kind of like that sort of like is everywhere. And it's rife with horrible microtransactions, pay to win scenarios, paywalls, everything. It is the worst like extremism of like bad gaming on that side. And somebody needs to come in and basically just scoop out all the crap and start actually making sense of what's going on.
Stuff, it is interesting with that because I remember there was an old interview with Colin Moriarty who used to work for Kind of Funny and someone who was like a figurehead for organizing those storefronts. And he was saying that like, you have infinite digital shelf space, so why not allow any creative to put their thing on the shelf? And that's true. But then you also get the knock-on effect of like, well, some people who just want to try and nickel and dime people are just going to make stuff that is a microtransaction fest or whatever, and you end up with some of the worst examples of that stuff. But I like the idea of an infinite shelf space place. But I just think that, like you said, the mobile market is the worst example of it. The thing that annoys me is that loads of bigger games, AAA stuff, the main gaming industry takes influence from that, and that's why you see so many like, microtransaction storefronts.
I will always love Square Enix because but back in the day, Squaresoft, my boys, Final Fantasy series like Parasite Eve, they were the dons, but I will never forgive them for Final Fantasy All the Bravest. It is.
Oh god, that stupid side-scrolling thing.
I like how that hit you in a way of realization.
Blanked that from my mind.
It quite possibly is the worst example I've ever seen of mobile gaming in any form. You have no control over your party. You pay for randomized loot box stuff that will maybe unlock a character you want. You don't. There's no gameplay. You literally just tap on the figure and they do their attacks. That's it. And they die, and you have no control over what attacks they do. They just go,
yep.
Do. That's it. That's all the game is. And I sat there and I was just like, you're destroying the brand. Why?
Like Square have had like a really, they do have a bunch of nefarious practices. Like, they have some legendary titles, and I adore Final Fantasy VII like with all my heart and everything. But they've got some bad stuff. I mean, even the new Final Fantasy VII remakes figures got put online. You have to buy them out of a blind box. You only pay for one of 5, and it's like, what are you doing?
They make silly mistakes. Like I love them, but I just feel like there's a disconnect again between what the public wants and what they think that they can get away with.
A little bit.
And it's like that whole practice of do you remember the pre-order bonus system
for Deus Ex? That's what I was going to say. It was like
it was abysmal.
Augment your pre-order.
And like but this was great because on paper you go, this is great. This actually like could allow people customizing and they get more kind of like Kickstarter-y style things. But in practice, the moment you put it into practice, you're like, oh, this is just really cash grab.
Yeah, and it was really just like, encourage your friends to pre-order the game.
Yeah, just
like
bad.
I think Kickstarter as like a thing for New Year's resolutions is another good one though, because I think that's a really good way for indie games to get funded and for everyone to get things back from them. I think more focus on maybe that side of the industry would be good, and more grassroots things coming up.
Like, well, I was going to say obviously the downside to the crowdfunding stuff is the people who take the money and run. Like with I think Peter Molyneux, I'm pretty sure 22 Cans, like his development studio, Goddess was initially Kickstarted or crowdfunded, and it's like that's been the case for a handful of titles that have just managed to get the money and then just not delivered.
Wasn't there an issue with Fig as well, which is the one that who's the guy? Tim Schafer from Psychonauts. Double Fine. He was using Fig, and it's somehow linked to some shady practices.
This
is not me accusing them. This is just what I've heard.
No. The thing with Schafer is a wider thing though, is that usually with Kickstarters or crowdfunding, happened with Shenmue 3, that like a project gets big enough and a publisher goes, well, we'll finish that off, and it's like, and that's a weird quandary if you've backed that game as you're part of the crowd that got it off the ground, and a publisher comes in and finishes the rest, does the rest of the project. Where does that leave you as a backer, like in terms of the ethics of it?
Mighty Number 9 is the fantasy. Like, I mean, they literally had enough money to not only fund the game, but then they just started using that money to fund other projects, and it's just like, that's shady. That's not what I've backed. I don't want to give you money to then go off and on like a personal jaunt.
You know what? Forget Kickstarter then. Forget it.
No.
The positives.
Just saying the positive definitely outweigh the
My beloved Shovel Knight came from crowdfunding, so that's fine. Also, Bloodstained did as well. I think there's
okay. Can I just say how good Bloodstained is?
Fingers coming out.
Oh, it is out. It's locked. As long, like, it is a fantastic game. If you like your Castlevania stuff, like this game is just so good. I played that just before I went on the Christmas break because I was doing it for a boss list, and I was just like, how have I slept on this? So this is brilliant.
It's I mean they were totally. That's another thing with Kickstarter stuff is that it can fill the gaps that the AAA industry goes away from. We talked about diversity of genres, but loads of Kickstarter projects have filled those gaps. Like Bloodstained is the 2D Castlevania that Konami won't do anymore. Dangerous Driving is the Burnout sequel that Criterion aren't allowed to do right now, and so things like that can kind of help. But I think going forward we're yet to sort of get the perfect version of crowdfunding. Like
speaking of diversity, just on that, like I would just like to say. I would love to see the gaming industry keep moving towards diversifying roles and heroes, protagonists.
Of course,
I'm loving the fact that at this current state of gaming, we're seeing more and more representations of our actual societal progression, and I think that that's great.
My thing with that is not being afraid to tackle certain subject matters as well. Like I adore what Celeste brings to the industry. I adore that Hellblade was able to both those games tackling mental health
wait for this.
in very specific ways.
Hellblade 2 is going to be so good. I'm really excited. It
looks pretty sick.
The first one was fantastic at going, okay, this is a really specific niche, but also applicable to a wide range of things. Like it did the small and the big in perfect ways with the mental health message. It was great.
So that's just a handful of our sort of New Year's resolutions for the industry itself. But let us know what you would pick and choose down in the comments below. For now, though, I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com. This has been the WhatCulture Gaming Podcast, and I've been joined by Jules Gill.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Ash Millman.
Thank you for having me also.
We'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
The Witch is bad, don't bother.
Why? Why do it?